Live now.
Hey! Welcome, one and all, to Unlucky Frog Live. We're going to do some painting this evening.
Yeah, something a bit more cathartic. A change of pace, if you will.
Chill.
Paint and chill.
Chill. Paint and chill. Yeah.
So, Josh is painting. He's not just pretending, but obviously.
No, I am. I just have not got the equipment to fully broadcast.
Yeah.
I actually tried to pick up a little webcam in Asda, but they're sold out. So.
Well, it's because everyone's working from home in it, so all that stuff gets scooped up. We did manage to get a printer scanner the other day, which has been really good because that helps Charlotte massively with her work, and it also means that I can do some print and play stuff potentially.
Hey, why not?
Everyone's a winner. So the plan tonight for the main feed, you can see here, you can see my hands waving about. The plan is you're going to see me painting some of my Night Haunt chain rasp hordes, ghosts in layman's terms.
Ghosty boys.
I've got one just here who's been painted to completion. I can just excuse the autofocus on the camera there. So I've rather than going for the black and blue that's on the box art, I've gone for a more traditional ghosty colour, the sort of off-white. It's actually quite a quick and easy scheme to do. It's just that's predominantly contrast with some metallics in there for actual contrast, not contrast TM, but to actually create some boundaries, some contrast within the model. So I got these with the Mortal Realms magazine that's out now. Which is the part work that they're doing for Age of Sigmar. It's a great publication, and it's a great way of getting miniatures for pretty cheap prices, actually. It looks like we might have lost Josh, but we'll just...
No, I'm still here, don't worry.
You're just still as a statue?
I'm admiring your handiwork here, man.
Okay. Well, actually, I was going to show you, this is what I've been working on for the last 2 days, and this gives you an idea of how anal I can be with this stuff. That is a pile of weapons, and I couldn't help myself, I've gone in and I've highlighted them.
Oh wow! See, now I have because you posted this on the Discord. I was saying on my Pathfinder game on Tuesday night, Ben's just posted this objective marker on Discord. It looks really good. It's way more effort than I would ever have gone into. More effort than a regular model, but it looks fantastic though.
It's a really great reset. They've done quite a few of these objective marker kits. You get them for this. I think this possibly one of my favourites, but I'll see once I finish the rest of them. But I've got it's like a Ceratera statue with an axe embedded in it.
Yeah.
And I just went nuts with some of the dry brushing there. Josh will see that on a delay because he's watching on the...
Yeah, it's a pretty serious delay, so we'll get that in a moment.
Because a lot of my kits are in the storage unit just now because Charlotte and I were in the process of moving when all this kicked off. I've been taking the opportunity to finish off a lot of the wee bits and pieces that have been lying about the flat that I haven't given the attention that I should have. So I'm going to be doing like objective markers and a lot of the endless spells and things like that. But I do also have the Mortal Realms stuff. So this is Blue Peter style. I've got a couple of them prepared in various stages. This is just a Night Haunt, and he has been primed using the Greyseer primer.
Okay. It's like both the contrast primers are like off-white. This is the one that's has got a bit of a blue tint to it, hasn't it?
Yeah, it's got sort of blue, greyish tint to it, and it's better for cooler colours.
Yeah.
More desaturated palette. So Whereas, like you say, we'll actually have the two of them in pots here. You've got the Gracier there, which I don't know if you can see in this light, compared to the Wraithbone there. You can actually see there's a marked difference there. The Wraithbone's more of a sort of magnolia.
It's a creamy colour, yeah.
Yeah, whereas the Gracier is more of a sort of eggshell white.
And it does, because of how the contrast paints work, it does have an impact on how the finished product looks, because that Wraithbone will give your miniatures a more warm, maybe more natural look to it, whereas if you are, well, obviously Ben's painting a bunch of ghosts here, and he wants cool colours for that. But I mean, like, I heard one person describe them in like layman's terms as, if you want to do fantasy stuff, do generally go for Wraithbone, and if you want to do science fiction and like sort of cool metallics, go for the Gracier.
It's a massively sweeping generalisation, but
It is.
Yeah,
but
yeah, at the same time, it's you find what works for you, don't you? Because like you actually, I've seen even people, what they do is they'll use one of the two contrast primers as a predominant colour, and then they'll go over portions of the model with one or other, depending on what effects they're trying to create. So if for instance they were painting, let's say like a Fire Slayer, and they wanted the flesh to look quite ruddy and quite warm, they would prime it Wraithbone to get that warmth. But then if they were maybe wanting the runes in their flesh to look like cold steel, they would maybe go over them.
Right, yeah.
With the Gracier, so you can. It's the possibilities are endless, and people use them to create all kinds of effects. So in front of me here, I've got my wet palette. I never used to use these, but they're one of these things where I think most people, they try them out just experimentally, thinking, I'll see how I get on with it, and you never go back once you use them, because I mean, even if you're not interested in doing blending and mixing your own colours and things like that, they save you a lot of money. So if you're not thinking so much down the road of like you're wanting to do really artisanal painting, there's the financial consideration, because if you're just painting straight out the pot, over time those pots are sitting open for hours and hours. Eventually they cure. Whereas if you're using a palette, you either use the little dropper bottles like that, and you're just putting little small amounts onto your palette, or you're even just taking little bits straight off the pot onto the palette too. Right, I will be right back.
Alright, so while Ben's away, I'm going to just talk about what I'm going to be doing this evening. So, those of you who are in the Discord might have seen what I've been working on. Just before the lockdown came into effect, Blood Rage.
Oh, looks like we might have lost Josh there. So I'll just jump back to wet palette explanation then. So this wet palette I've got, I can't remember the name of the, oh actually I have it here. It is the Redgrass Everlasting wet palette that I've got, which they did a Kickstarter for this quite a few years ago, and it was hugely successful. It's got a piece of sponge that's mold resistant, so it means you don't have to change it up as often. And I've got these hydration paper sheets. Oh, looks like Josh might be back with us. Let's see. Sorry about this, folks. It's the trouble with being on peak time in a lockdown. It just means that bandwidth is getting spread a bit thinner. So while we're waiting on Josh coming back, back to the wet palette. So this is obviously like a bespoke palette that's been made specifically for painting, but prior to having this I actually just had a Tupperware box with a piece of sponge in it, and I just put a baking parchment over the top of it, and that's what I was using for my wet palette until I got one of these. It's crude, but it pretty much does the same thing. It just means that you're maybe going to have to change the sponge a little more often. The water maybe sloshes about that a bit more, whereas this one, it's a highly absorbent sponge I've got, and I only need to soak it again every so often just to keep it nice and damp in there. But it means that if I've got quite a lot of a particular type of paint out, I can just put the lid back on that palette and come back to it later on, and it's very good for mixing, which I'm going to do a little bit of just now, incidentally, because the contrast paints, while the sort of tagline when they were advertising them was one thick coat, I really wouldn't recommend using them that way, because as much as you can just slap them on if you want. I know a lot of people that do that. At the same time, they're quite bad for leaving tide marks, which, I mean, if you don't know what that looks like, it's pretty much what it says in the tin. You'll see like little watermarks where the paint has dried in various stages where people have been applying it. Sometimes you don't even need to necessarily been applying it in stages for doing that, because these paints, although they're used as glazes, they actually are sort of gel based, so they're a bit different in consistency, and to that end you actually have a specific medium that's used for them. And I do have a pot of regular medium, and you can see that they are actually quite different in consistency there. The contrast one's a lot milkier, it's a bit more viscous, whereas the regular medium, it just looks a little bit like dirty water. So what I'll do to start off, because we're going to do the shading of the white, is we'll take a little bit of that contrast medium. You can actually, I don't know if you can make that out there, but my brush is a little bit dirty there, so that's been from whatever I was painting earlier, and I don't want to get any dirt into the medium there, so what I'm going to do is just going to try and clean that off as much as I can. And I'm just going to start again. And what I'll do is I will quickly do this, and then we'll try and check back in on Josh, see what's happening with him. So, bit of contrast medium down. So this is more or less going to be like I guess like a 50-50 mix. And the thing that I would say with regards to doing the contrast medium is you always want to build it up in layers, because you don't want to apply too thick a coat and then you're back to square one. So really what you want to do is maybe start off with more medium to contrast paint and then work your way back. So what we'll do is we'll just put about 3 dabs of that in. Just mix that in very nicely, like that. And you'll see the difference here, because it's going to make your contrast paint on the palette look a little bit milkier than it normally would. So, and then what we're going to do is we're just going to apply that like so all over the model. Don't know if you guys can hear that, but my upstairs neighbour, they have a teenage daughter and she is singing at the top of her voice and it's absolutely horrific. So if I seem a bit distracted, I do apologise. It's because I can hear that in the background. It's quite on theme because it's painting night haunt, ghosts and things like that, banshees, what have you, and it feels like I'm in the presence of one. So all over with that. And you can just slap it on, but again, because as I was saying earlier, these contrast paints have a bit of a propensity to create tide marks. It's a good idea, if you can, to try and have all your strokes go in the one direction to minimise, even though you've already thinned this down with the medium, you want to minimise those tide marks as much as possible and get right into all the wee nooks and crannies. We actually back in 2018, which was when the Night Haunt range came out first for the Soul Wars story arc for Age of Sigmar, we actually picked the Soul Wars set as the miniature range of the year, because they are absolutely phenomenal models, the Night Haunt. I mean, in my opinion, they're some of the best that Games Workshop have ever produced. As much as there are a lot of complaints about how fragile they can be, they're surprisingly robust for such floaty looking creatures, and they're a fantastic use of the negative space there. So again, apologies for the autofocus, but hopefully you should be able to make that out. And that is the shading done for that. So what I'm going to do, pop him aside to dry, clean that brush off, because we're going to be dipping back into the contrast medium and we don't want to contaminate that with any of the Apothecary White. That's us done with that for now. I was saying to Josh earlier, Apothecary White is, I think, one of my favourites of the new contrast range, because it also allows you to very easily shade white now, which used to be quite a tricky process where you're having to mix in really pale blues or really pale greys with like a glazing medium, and you're having to very carefully apply them in the areas where you wanted the shadows. Whereas the new contrast mediums are really simple way of doing that with glazing. So what we're going to do next is we are going to use a bit of the Ether Matic Blue, and again we're going to go We're actually going to go a bit thinner than 50-50. Because we want this to create a more sort of blended, graduated. Excuse me a minute, I'm going to try and sort out the background noise again. Right, let's see again if we can get Josh back. Battery in my headphones has just died, so excuse me a minute while it seems like everything is going wrong tonight that could. Excuse me a minute, guys. Laptop is not coping too well at the moment, so I think if this keeps up I might need to give it another go, possibly another time, but we'll fight on for now. See how we get on.
Huzzah! I'm back!
Looks like you're back.
Yay! I've been watching the stream.
You're gigantic, so let me try and... Right,
Yeah, make me smaller.
there we go.
As in, like, small on screen, don't say mean things to me.
I'm trying to sort, because my headphones died.
Yeah, I saw that.
Just about everything that has gone wrong technically wise.
Just turned into... Yeah, I see what you... And I am now seeing what you mean by making me smaller, because the... just while I was listening, Barry in chat, how are we sounding audio-wise?
Made you too small now.
Oh, don't do that.
Yeah, because Charlotte, that was why I had to disappear, because she said that my audio was sounding a bit sketchy.
Yeah.
And you've got quite a bit of audio bleed from what I heard, but...
I've got my headphones plugged in, so that should
It might just be the way it's... Just to make things more annoying, the lead on this set of headphones is smaller than the other one.
Sorry, like just trying to lean back and just go. Whoa!
Yeah.
Oh dear.
Right. Anyway.
Yes, back to the painting.
Ethermatic blue. So a lot of people when they're painting Nighthaunt use the Nihilakh oxide, which is fine, but I just prefer the higher colour saturation that you get on the Ethermatic blue. It's pretty much the same colour as...
Does it sound better if I have the microphone closer to me, Barry?
Fuzz from me.
Yeah.
I don't know. It could just be...
Maybe it is the beard.
I think it might just be the sheer amount of stuff I've got running at the moment. It might be that there's a wee bit of an EMF interfering with the cable on my mic or something, so I'll need to look at that for next time. Right, Ethermatic blue. So what I'm doing here is we want the Nighthaunt to look like they are sort of phasing in and out of reality. So what we do is we apply, and bear in mind it is sort of gel based contrast, so you can move it around a little bit.
Yeah,
it's
so I don't know if I disconnected when all of this when I started talking about what I've been doing recently, but I have been painting the Blood Rage clans lately, and I've been using a lot of the contrast paints myself, properly for the first time as well. And yeah, it feels like you are. It feels more like painting with a wash than it does with an actual regular paint.
They're a little bit kind of in between, I think. Like they're kind of a happy medium between the two. So what I'm doing as well is painting the extremities, so the arms and the face of the Nighthaunt, they're going to be blue as well. And it's just going to give that impression of them being a little bit sort of cold and frostbitten.
So obviously you've already applied the white to it. Is the white layer still a little bit damp so that you can blend the two together?
No, totally dry. It's
totally dry, right? Okay, so this is more just it is more just making sure that when you're applying it, that there's just like there's less pigment going up towards the white section of the robes. Yeah.
Yeah, that's it. So you're basically blending here, because you know everyone's probably heard people talk about wet blending before.
Yep.
Which that can be a little bit tricky. One of the nice things about contrast paints is the way you layer them up and the way that you use the medium with them effectively allows you to dry blend, I guess you could call it.
Yeah.
It's just layering, but because you're able to...
Because you have that kind of control over it.
You're able to regulate the intensity of it using the medium. And it's maybe worth saying, actually, I haven't mentioned it and I just realised, don't water down contrast paints, because they are gel based, so they don't
doesn't work. Doesn't work. So while Ben's working on that, I'll quickly show you guys what I'm going to be working on. So I'm doing the Bear Clan from Blood Rage. I'll try and show off a mini, but it's probably not going to look great with my lighting and camera setup. So I have gone again. I'm using contrast paints for these guys, but unlike Ben, who's using contrast to sort of achieve like quite a cool sort of blended color, I'm kind of doing the other thing that contrast is good for. It's quite good for lazy painting.
It's true.
Yeah. So I'm starting with just all the flesh colors on this clan. We've got 9 guys here. There's 2 different sculpts for the regular warriors. This guy with a great big bear pelt over his head. I don't know if you guys can see that.
So these are like your sort of heavy infantry clan out of all the...
Yeah, and to be fair, right, so Ben hasn't played Blood Rage yet because I only picked it up just before we weren't physically allowed to see other people. So, all the clans in Blood Rage play absolutely identical. They don't have any sort of different statistics depending on which one you pick. But in the way they've sculpted them means that they look a little different. And yeah, these guys look like the heavies basically. This is the other sculpt for one of the other warriors. So again, he's armed with like a big hammer. We've got like this big thick bear pelt on his back, and the leader is this guy here, just with a little banner with a. Let's try and get a good shot of that little bear's head on top of the banner. The leader's quite unfortunate, I think, because he's bald on top, but he's got like the egg in the nest haircut. So I've never had to paint that before, so we'll see how that turns out. So what I've done is I've undercoated all the minis with Wraithbone. And okay. I am going to be doing all the flesh here with Guilliman flesh, which kind of does, it's like white European, basically, is what flesh tone you'll get from that, and fairly consistently as well. I suppose you can apply more or less of it if you want to make it look paler.
The flesh tones, I think the other one, I think I've got Guilliman. I'm just looking through what I've got here. The other one I've got is Fyreslayer flesh, which is quite...
It's a bit warmer, isn't it?
Yeah, that's
more of a tan.
More tan or like a ruddy complexion, whereas Guilliman will give you like Caucasian, basically.
Yeah. So that's all I'm looking to achieve tonight, is to get that basic layer. Nothing fancy. I am just going over all the bits of flesh with that paint.
Just slapping
it on. So that's all I'm going for. Now, my big quandary that I've got with the Bear Clan is their clan colour. Their clan colour is brown, which is not a fun colour. Sorry, all you brown fans, but that's the truth of the matter.
Brown is actually my dad's favourite colour. It's weird, isn't it?
I mean, I like your dad, but
not anymore.
No, but what's his justification for it? Does he justify it? Yeah, but
it's one of those colours. It just works with everything. He was a man of the 70s, so I don't know if perhaps that's a factor.
That's come into it somehow. Maybe. I just like
the 70s was a big decade for brown.
It was its heyday. I don't know. I just like for me, right? I don't like it personally. No, I don't like it. It has its place, but it's never like it's never the prime, like the colour. Do you know what I mean? Like, there's a reason. Here's the thing. Ben, name me a football team whose strip is brown.
I mean, you could have stopped at name me a football team, and I would have struggled, to be honest. But no, as Barry pointed out, Mornfang brown is a very nice colour, but that's got quite a lot of red through it, so
Yeah, I mean, browns can be nice colours. I just don't think they are. I don't think they're the lead singer on a model. Like they definitely serve, and not just on models, just in everything. If you like decorating your home, you will have brown things in your home.
They're like the precision base of colours.
They have a job to fulfill, and they do it.
Yeah,
they do it, no problem. But like, so my quandary is, I want each clan to look distinct from the others, right?
Sure.
But each clan has like a big old like fur pelt on their back, which I am being, which are being painted either black or brown, right?
Yeah.
So if I just leave brown to be their color, then how, like, visually, how do you distinguish them from the rest of the clans?
They're like the No Frills clan, I guess.
Well, so I've got two thoughts on this, basically. So, I'll show you the mini again. So I don't know if you can see on the camera, but they've got like they've got the Barry's now naming just like a load of sports teams that play in brown. Coventry don't play in brown. I'm pretty sure Coventry don't they play in green and yellow? Maybe their away strip is brown. I don't know. I couldn't tell you about Cleveland. I don't follow NFL. I don't watch Hand Egg.
It's what it is.
It's what it is. My brother loves American football, so he'll kill me for that. But whatever. Yeah. So this is it. Like, if I was just to leave their color as, if I was to do like their robes and the scabbards as brown as well, it would make the color. It would make the model look a bit too uniform. I want like a highlight color to kind of make it pop out. Now, the other problem I have, because the first thing I would have gone for is, okay, right, let's make the highlight color like a sort of like a naturally green. Okay, right. So I'm just reading Barry's comment. Coventry City will be wearing their limited edition chocolate brown strip. Limited edition, Barry. Limited edition. They normally play in green and yellow. That was also back in 2008, 2009.
He's determined to win this debate.
I mean, yeah. The kid's got guts. So the problem with you, so I was thinking, okay, maybe I'll do like a sort of like, not a bright green, but a sort of more natural colour, like a leaf green. But there's a green clan, and not only that, but the green clan are the Ram clan. Thank you, ma'am. But their sculpts are actually a little bit similar to the Bear clan. So
big burly dudes.
Yeah, basically. So that wouldn't solve the problem either. What was that, Ben? Sorry.
I'm trying to add more medium. I lifted the wrong pot. It's just. I've still not put anything in my drink though, so.
Yeah, I'm waiting for the moment I absent-mindedly pick up the water pot and drink out of that.
I've never done it.
I've never done it either, but there's always a first. So, Ben's suggestion earlier this week was orange, which I think is what I'm going to go for. And maybe not like a bright, like bloody tango orange, but again, something a bit more dull and like natural looking.
Well, this was why I was thinking is that if you want a natural colour and you don't want to go green or brown, it's usually orange you go for, isn't it?
Yeah, like an autumnal leaf.
Yeah, exactly.
So I think that's what I'm going for. The other thing I thought of was having like the sort of bits of robe and the scabbards and everything doing it in like a sort of bone color.
Okay, yeah.
And it will make it look. It will make them look a lot more neutral. But if all the other clans have like a fairly vibrant color as their highlight color, they would still stand out because they wouldn't have it. But I don't know if I'm leaning more towards the orange. But the beauty of it is I can kind of see how the models unfold and take it from there before committing.
Do grey as well if you're wanting muted colours.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to actually. I didn't think of this. I'm gonna have to bust out my grey as well because this leader, he's got a foot just sat on a rock, which I haven't noticed yet. So I'm gonna have to do that at some point. Anyway, so I'm just working on the flesh tone for now, and if we get time this evening, we might move on to another colour. But if we don't, no big deal. So
painting and chill tonight.
Painting and chill. So how's your model coming along, Ben?
Well, what I'm doing is I'm batch painting these guys because now that I've done the one and I'm happy with it, which is the one
you know exactly how you want to do it.
So I'm just battering ahead with the initial sort of less intense layer of the Ethermatic blue on these guys, and then let that dry, and then what I'll do is I'll build some more up.
So I'll just show you guys what I've done just now there. So this is one of the guys with the big bear pelt, and I've just put the Gilman flesh just over like where the bear flesh is, so pun intended. So just over his chest, his arms, and of course his face as well from behind his beard. So that's all I'm going to be doing for those guys. But it's yeah, I've been enjoying painting these actually. It feels quite different because obviously Blood Rage is a fantasy setting of sorts, but certainly the clans themselves feel more rooted in reality.
Yeah, more sort of historical miniatures almost. Well, I'm probably going to at some point during this lockdown, because I think from what I can gather, the earliest it's getting lifted is the 7th of May, so we're going to be in for a little while yet.
Yes. Well, the government just announced that today. It's going to be at least another 3 weeks, but probably longer.
Probably longer. I think it'll probably be up to the summer, to be honest, with maybe some services being lifted. Try and get things going, because it was actually I found out before the announcement was made, because the estate agent said that because they're considered a key component of the economy, that they are probably going to be one of the first to be allowed to return to trading.
Well, I mean that's one of those things. House sales is usually one of the key measures of how the economy is doing. So the government's going to want them to go back to work as quickly as possible. It will, of course, mean up here that land registry will need to open up again as well. But I'm sure there are smarter people than me thinking about that.
I mean, it's good for us because it does mean that potentially we could still be moving this year.
Yeah, exactly. Fingers crossed. Fingers crossed. So Barry's suggesting maybe a leather/hide effect with the orange. Yeah, that's kind of what I was thinking along the lines of. I don't want it to be like a bright, like I say, tango orange. I want it to look natural. I want it to look like a natural dye, basically.
Sure.
So, but I think that's what I'm going to go for. And the orange that I have is, I can't remember the name of it, but I think it's
Gryph-hound orange.
No, it starts with a J.
Jokero.
Jokero, yeah. So because it's a base coat as well, and that's like it's orange, but it's not like screaming at you orange.
Yeah, it's a little bit more muted than It's not Troll Slayer orange, put it that way.
Yeah, and if you were to put, say a wash of, I still call it Devlin mud. It's not been called
Agrax
Devlin.
Earthshade, I think.
Agrax Earthshade. It's Devlin mud. It'll always it'll always be Devlin mud.
Some of the purists actually completely disagree with that, and what they do is whenever a new paint range is coming in, they hoard some of the paints that they're quite
Seriously.
Yeah.
Right. These are probably the same kind of people who are very passionate about whether they prefer Coke or Pepsi, and like, yeah, there is a difference in taste, but I really don't care that much because it's not. They don't taste that different.
Alright. Just got a couple of Nighthaunt hooked together there.
Oh, nice.
Do not
Nice.
like that. Nope, you're not ready yet.
Right here. Do you mind excusing me for a moment? I'm gonna be right back.
Carry on. I'm not going to stop you.
I didn't hear that.
I said carry on. I'm not going to stop you.
That's true. I don't know why I asked your permission actually, but thought I'd be polite.
So I'm just carrying on with that initial layer, as you can see. I'm just wanting the thinner layer in there, and then I'm going to build it up in intensity going to the bottom, because as it says in the tin, we want it to look quite ethereal, as if they are just emerging from the ground. Because one of the army rules that the Nighthaunt have, which is fun, horrifying, depending on what side of the table you are, is they came from the underworld, which allows the Nighthaunt to essentially appear wherever they like, instead of deploying normally. So they basically, as far as like the fluff goes, these guys are Nagash's shock troops. He's got hordes of skeletons. There's the new faction that have just come out called the Ossiarch Bone Reapers, who are the backbone of Nagash's army, his elite troops, and these guys are the shock troops, the terror troops. There you go, Barry Collier, the purist. I know I've seen quite a few. I don't know what it's like with Devlin Mud right enough, but I know a lot of people were price gouging Milne Oil since the lockdown came into effect. There was actually one poor fool that got arrested for travelling, I think it was like something crazy like 240 miles just for a pot of Milne Oil, which, as funny as it is, it's pretty reckless, because you certainly do not need Milne Oil during all of this. Maybe got a preference for it, but you don't need it, that's for sure.
Right here, I'm back. Barry's confirming 6 pots of Devlin Mud in my paint kit. Also, Coke is far better. So kind of proving my point.
That's you told, isn't it? Don't you feel stupid?
Barry, is Devlin Mud significantly better than Agrax Earthshade? Tell me that.
I think it's probably more a question of preference, because honestly, I didn't notice too much of a difference.
No, I can't say I did either.
So Barry's saying that he's acquired a lot of D&D pigments. So although Josh and I are talking about all the Citadel paints, there are a lot of other paint ranges that are just as good, and certainly some people argue are better than the Citadel range. Josh and I just use them because it's what we're familiar with, it's what we're comfortable with.
Yeah.
I actually have an app on my phone. I will read the name of just now.
Mm-hmm.
It's called Mini Paints, and you can definitely get it on Google Play Store, and I'm sure it'll be on
It'll be on the Apple
the
Store
Apple
as
Store
well, inevitably.
So this is an app that you type in the name of a paint, and it will give you the closest match possible to, I think, about 4 or 5 other ranges.
Mm-hmm.
And
Well, because this
actually gives you links in the app of where to buy it. That's it on the screen there. That's how it looks.
neat. Because this is the thing, right? So yeah, obviously GW have got like sort of branded names for all of their different acrylic paints, right? But at the end of the day, it's just standard pigments. And in fact, I kind of need to test this. If you go to an art supply store, right? Each shade has and when I say shade, when I say shade, I'm talking about each different like sort of colour and shades of each colour. It has its own unique number, referring to the pigment that goes into it. So if you just know what that number is, then you're golden, right? You could just go to any art supply store. You can say, I'm looking for an acrylic paint with this pigment, and you could buy like a super cheap acrylic paint. Now you would need to water it down a lot.
Yeah, because I know some people who are like, when they're really high level painters, what they do is they make their own paints using pigment powders and everything like that, which is just insane. But people do that.
I've never felt the need to do that.
I mean, I can understand at a certain level why you would want to do that if because some of the guys that enter things like the Golden Demon, if you're competing for the Slayer Swords, which is one of the most prestigious awards in the world for miniature painting, you can't just paint something very nicely and enter that. Those guys spend sometimes over a year planning and preparing those entries.
Yeah, like an obscene amount of time.
And you can tell because some of the stuff is just phenomenal. The guy that won it last year, he painted one of the new Troggoth models, Trolls, to you and me.
Yes. Copyright Trolls.
He actually sculpted his own base for it.
Oh, wow. Okay. Nice.
And it looked phenomenal.
So, have you been following much about some of the stuff, just because I'm painting a Cool Mini or Not miniatures range here, have you been following some of the stuff that's happening with Cool Mini or Not at the moment?
They're in hot water again, aren't they?
Yeah. So not only have they been posting losses, but they've had 2 non-executive directors resign recently, and the trading on their stocks have been suspended. Am I right in saying that?
Oh, I don't know. You'd know a lot more about
Oh, sorry. Right, okay. Maybe I've got the wrong end of the stick there, but
no,
yeah,
you could be right because they've been on shaky ground for this past year. Because I know that they posted record losses for last year, which is absolutely baffling when we're in the middle of a tabletop gaming renaissance, if you can use an arsey term like that.
What I would say to keep in mind is companies can post losses, but have achieved that loss in a fancy way so that they are more tax efficient.
That's true.
And by tax efficient, I mean so that they don't have to pay tax.
I don't think that's what's happened here.
Yeah, well, I mean, we don't know. It'll come out in the wash. I've mixed feelings about Cool Mini or not. They're obviously one of the big players in the hobby, right? I used to slag them quite a bit, because a lot of the games they would put out would be all style, no substance.
Yeah.
But I must admit, like I've enjoyed playing Blood Rage that much that I bought a copy for myself, and they have put out some decent content. I still question whether they really need to use Kickstarter.
I don't think that companies like Cool Mini or not belong on Kickstarter at all, because you're not kickstarting a business for one. And I mean, there's a certain argument, they're kickstarting an idea, but
they're using it as a really cheap way of getting finance, basically.
Yeah,
and that's what it is.
A really cheeky pre-order system is what it amounts to.
Yeah.
It's become.
What do you think of Ankh?
I really like the look of it, but I think similar to you, I don't like Cool Mini or Not's business model and business practices. So what I'll probably do is I will wait until it goes to retail.
Yeah.
Or until someone who has been caught up in the hype decides to sell off their copy.
And it's just the thing that annoys. It's not the fact that it's not just Cool Mini are not doing this. There's so many companies out there on Kickstarter doing these big box games with a gazillion miniatures and components and add-ons that you won't know what to do with. Facebook really wanted me to back the Batman animated series board game that was on Kickstarter not that long ago. And I was kind of like, no, I mean, the minis look cool, but the game's probably bad.
Yeah, I'm getting hammered with adverts for Ankh at the moment.
Yeah. You're not wavering, though?
No. Well, I can't. What is it? It's like $100 for the base game.
And when will you get it? That's the question.
Yeah, probably over a year from now. Probably more than that, because of all the backlog from this virus. Because I mean, this is one of the. As much as Games Workshop have halted all their production, pretty much all of their production is in house. So it means that when they go back to it, they'll be fine. But a lot of these game companies, I think, are going to be flapping for the next while.
Yeah, the unique thing with Games Workshop is they actually manufacture their miniatures in the UK.
Yeah,
like that's very rare. Like, I actually don't know where Cool Mini or not have their manufacturing based. I guess it's China. I'm guessing.
I mean, I'd be surprised if it wasn't.
I'd have to actually look into that.
I think a lot of countries are going to have to reconsider the amount of manufacturing they have in China, or just abroad in general. Really, I don't think it's necessarily specifically a problem with manufacturing in China.
Yeah, it's the practice of manufacturing abroad.
It's the fact that when a crisis like this occurs, you suddenly can't get anything. Whereas the countries that have all their own manufacturing, if they need ventilators or anything like that, they just take the STL files down to anyone that has a 3D printer, and away they go.
That was one of the nice things that I've done over the last couple of weeks. It's probably come up on the podcast that I work for a bank, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I work for a bank and I do business finance, and one of the things we've done, or I did recently, was I did a loan to a company so that they could get a new bit of manufacturing equipment so that they could make the components that go into this new ventilator that's been developed by McLaren and what are the other McLaren, Ferrari, and some of the other F1 teams that have developed it.
Well, that's cool.
Yeah, so they're going to go, and they're specifically going to go into one of the not like the Nightingale Hospital that's in the Excel at London, but one of these like pop-up hospitals that they're putting across the country in convention centres. So that was a bit of a feel good.
That's quite encouraging to hear.
Yeah. The other one I did was a loan for a wholesaler to go buy an absolute bucket load of medical scrubs and personal protective equipment as well. So that hasn't finished yet, but that'll be happening as well.
So some nice stories.
Nice stories, yeah. Amongst all the rubbish.
Yeah. All the pretty horrible stuff, to be frank.
Yeah.
I don't know if you saw, Josh. I think I shared it on my personal Facebook page that the Army Painter have actually repurposed all of their paint production plant to making hand sanitizer.
I did see that, and that's really cool. Good on them. Absolutely good on them.
They put up a great post explaining their business decision, because I think like as much as I think some things will go back to normal, like people will go back to like having pointless arguments on the internet and things like that, and they're still doing that at the moment anyway. One of the things that they said on the announcement post for the Army Painter is that they need to prepare the school kids for whatever their new normal looks like, because things are going to be different, and I think it's a lot of things that people I don't think necessarily are even thinking about just now, and you know that's fair enough with all that's going on, but I think a lot of restaurants are going to have to halve their capacity.
Yeah, God, it's tricky, isn't it? Like, my thing is, obviously, I'm all set up to work from home now. There's the only reason why I wouldn't be able to do my job from home is one, a lack of a computer, and two, getting access to the secure sort of virtual private networks that we use, so that I can access the bank systems. I've got that's all been sorted out now, so that's good. I'm wondering if we're going to try and move to an economy where it's not the exception, it is the norm for people to have a home office and to work out their homes following this. Because there are so many office jobs where you do not need to go into an office building to actually do them.
Which, as an electrician, to be honest, I'm all for, because it means that if people are working from home, they might need to repurpose their homes for that a little bit.
Absolutely.
And certainly it means that a lot of these offices like your own, they'll have a contract with a big electrical firm, whereas if it's people working from home, they're more likely to call little local tradesmen to take care of things. So.
Exactly.
And the more money we can keep out of offshore accounts, the better for everyone.
Amen.
As much as I'm probably going to profit from that.
So that's there's other benefits to it, right? You know, it means there's less cars on the road, which means there's less local air pollution and greenhouse gas pollution as well. You know, that's a good thing.
I think that's one of the things that that's not up for debate anymore, because we've got fundamental proof that having less cars on the road has a huge environmental impact.
Yeah.
So I think it would be silly not to try and reduce road traffic as much as we can. And then, like, commuting to work's stressful.
Well, it's a waste of time as well, right? Like, I can just, like, working from home, I mean, it basically buys me another hour in bed, which, as a man who likes to lie in, is invaluable.
Yeah. No, I think it's the way to go.
And here's the other thing for me as well. I have noticed I have spent so much less money this month. And that's not just from not going into the office to work. That's like not being able to have, like, go out with friends to bars and going out for dinner and that sort of thing, right? But still, a non-zero amount of that is by not commuting into work.
And the other thing is that it means that when you do go back to working, you're working from home, that little local economy thing that we talked about kicks in again, doesn't it? Because it means that you're going to buy coffee at the shop at the end of the street rather than...
Yeah, it means I'm going to get my lunches here as well. It's there's a lot of benefits to it. I think there's two big things now, right? Because we've now all got the technology to do it, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that can't be used as a reason anymore. I do think, and quite rightly, I think some managers are sceptical about, like, how much work will get done if people are working from home. And the other thing is, people like seeing people. Like, now, don't get me wrong, I like working from home, but if I was just working from home, I would still be going out and meeting up with friends.
Yeah.
You know? But, some people like going into an office and catching up with their work colleagues and all of that, and that's perfectly valid as well.
Yeah, I mean, I think if anything, to be honest, if people are working from home, they probably make more of an effort to meet up outside.
Yeah.
I think they probably make more of an effort to use parks and things like that as well, exercise a bit more, as evidence from this lockdown. You tell people they can't go outside, what do they do?
Hey, well, I can go outside for this reason, so I'm gonna do that.
So I think, to be honest, overall, that the pros outweigh the cons.
Yeah.
It does mean that it would probably hasten the demise of the high street, mind you.
I would argue it was going in that direction anyway.
I would say so as well. But it's worth mentioning.
It's a shame though. Well, we were talking about this the other day, right? Because Debenhams has gone into administration. I think House of Fraser is on the brink as well. And I would be genuinely a little bit sad to see House of Fraser not exist anymore, because at Christmas I like going in to Fraser's in the middle of Glasgow and seeing all their Christmas decorations, and it looks very festive and pretty. I don't buy anything though. like it's not going to impact my life that much. It's a shame though, because these companies employ a lot of people, but I don't know.
So this is, of the guys I'm painting tonight, this is the first one where what I've done is I have put on that darker layer now.
Alright, let's have a look.
So
in like 3 minutes time.
You can see side by side the difference there, and you get that nice gradient. So I'll move you over there because you're done.
Oh yeah.
So I'm subscribed directly to Hatchet for this Mortal Realms.
So is it like once a month that you get one of the magazines?
Once a month I get 4 magazines, or if you're you're going through a newsagent, you get it every week.
Nice.
So I mean, it is quite a bit of money, but at the same time, money I'll probably spend on miniatures anyway.
Well, if it's a bit of fun, then why not? I mean, like, I wish Partworks were like this when I was a kid.
Oh no.
I wish a lot of things. Do you remember the starting kits for GW back when we were kids as well? They pale in comparison to what they're like now.
Oh yeah. I mean, strictly speaking, didn't have it as a child, but I recently acquired the. I say recently, it was probably about 6 years ago or something like that. I got the Battle for Skull. Is it Skull Pass set? The one
Yes.
with dwarves versus goblins.
Those night goblins are still used everywhere.
That's true.
They're
still
great
good.
little sculpts.
The dwarves were awful. I mean, I built and painted them, but they're definitely in that set. The goblin stuff was.
Yeah, the goblins were sweet in that
What you got
set.
it for. Like you say, if it aged so well because they still get used.
That's the second type of warrior started now as well. Just thought I'd show a little update there.
Nice.
Get
So he's
cracking with the rest
got a
of
big
these.
maul.
He's. I mean, obviously the Bear Clan, for whatever reason, have decided hammers are their thing. What I have noticed with all of these Viking models that they've made, though, right, is they have like an excess of weapons. Like there's one of the Wolf Clan miniatures has 2 spears on him and 2 swords, and I'm just thinking, you're never going to use all of that.
Maybe he's planning to chuck a couple of them.
Maybe.
Not a good idea though, throwing your weapon. From what I have garnered from history.
Sorry, Barry, I've just seen your message there. So, also safer as it judges interest in a game/system before too much money is spent on development. In reference to Cool Mini or not, I am assuming. I would say yes, that is fair enough, but Cool Mini are not a big enough company now where they can source finance through other means rather than crowdfunding it, right? My thing is the spirit of Kickstarter should be for starters, for startups, you know? For guys who have an idea and they want to get it off the ground, rather than let's face it, a big multinational company just using it as an alternative to taking a loan from the bank.
I think if you've got shareholders, you shouldn't be using it. That's usually a good litmus test.
Yeah, I think if you've got shareholders, you're pretty big.
Which that's
Big deal.
That's definitely Cool Mini or not right there.
I get why they do it. I mean, like if you have
It
the
makes
option to have,
the risk, doesn't it?
yeah. I was going to say, like, if you have the option to have your cake and eat it, then why wouldn't you? But I don't know. But like, this is it. Like, a Kickstarter going to do anything about it? No, of course not. They make a lot of money off the Cool Mini or not projects as well. So
They also fire their staff for trying to start unions.
good guys.
Yeah.
Good guys.
So there's that little part of it for me as well now with Kickstarters. You overplayed your hand there. You are clearly an arsehole. I'm a wee bit reluctant to use them, and it's a difficult one because I personally know a lot of people that depend on Kickstarter for what they do,
Yeah.
but I don't really feel that I can say what they're doing is okay by giving them my money.
No, I get that. I'm trying to remember the last thing I kickstarted, actually. I think it was the last game I kickstarted.
List it.
I think it might have been Wreck and Ruin.
Oh, there you go. Our homeboy Mark.
Mark McKinnon of Wreck and Ruin fame. I was actually thinking if I get these guys finished in the lockdown and I want more minis to paint, I'll paint up the Rack and Ruin minis.
I've got the SPQR box set sitting on my shelf.
Ooh,
So I might be doing the Gauls and Romans at some point.
nice.
Nice way to vary it up as well, because they're a true 28 as opposed to
Which feels very different to Age of Sigmar scale now.
yeah, which is, I mean, they say it is heroic 28, but I think it's more like 32,
It's 32 now.
which is like all the Games Workshop stuff. Because to be honest, it is a bit easier to paint.
Yeah. The models look nice at that sort of scale as well, right?
Yeah.
Quite satisfying. Like the Blood Rage minis are definitely true 28. They're definitely, proportion wise, they feel more realistic than they do a lot of the Warhammer stuff. That being said, I'm having a look at this guy I'm painting now, and it's not, maybe it's not like realistic proportions. His hands are fairly big for what they should be.
It might be heroic 28 then.
Yeah. It's interesting because you never really notice it at first, but it does make a big difference how a miniature looks.
It's more when you get. I mean, you'll get boffins that can tell it right away by looking at it, but generally for me, it's, you notice it when you compare them to miniatures from other ranges, where you have a moment of madness where you think, oh, I'll just use that as such and such, and then you put it next to the stuff from the other things that you're trying to build an army out, and you think that just doesn't look right.
Well, the best example I can think of is the Lord of the Rings miniatures range, right? Because they wanted that to look realistic to the film.
Yeah.
So they are done in true 28, and they look tiny. They looked tiny back in the day compared to the old, like, what would have been 5th edition Warhammer.
Yeah.
So, like God knows, like, how much smaller they are than Age of Sigmar stuff.
You get some wallopers trying to use them in the Age of Sigmar stuff, and like, to be fair, most people are pretty kind and like letting them know that, you know, like, that doesn't really work with that.
That looks a bit shit.
I think, but like you're saying, I think with the exception of the Middle Earth strategy battle game, that all of the Games Workshop ranges are now
Bigger.
Heroic 32.
Yeah. Barry, how's your owlbear coming along? I want to see pictures.
Pics, it didn't happen.
Pics, or it didn't happen. Kids won't know where that's from now. Did you ever used to go on 4chan back in the day?
I did not. 4chan's still on the go though, isn't it?
It is still on the go. I haven't logged into it in a long time, but
Very controversial website.
Yeah. I veered away from the notorious message board was B, which was random, which had everything. I stuck more towards video games and traditional games, and that actually had some semblance of discourse to it.
We've got I'm pretty sure that they're affiliated, or one came out of the other or something like that. You got 1D4chan, haven't you?
Yes, which I never use. I never go on it.
We could probably gonna have Games Workshop lawyers beating down my door for saying this, but it's actually very good.
the GW police swing through the windows right now.
It's a very useful repository of information for if you want to try out a faction for a Games Workshop game, because they've collated a lot of the information there.
Mm-hmm. Just how tight are Games Workshop nowadays with that sort of stuff? Because a lot of the core rules I'll just publish for free nowadays, right?
I think they have relaxed a bit because, I mean, as much as I think you do still need to defend your IP and all that, they're obviously aware that you have to balance that up with public image.
Yeah.
And I think that if people get it into their heads that you're the big bad, it's not good for business.
No, that's true. And then the other thing is, they don't make money off selling. Well, they do make money off selling books, but their big money spinner is the miniatures, right? And whatever way you cut it, you really kind of need to buy the miniatures.
Miniatures and paint. They're the biggest seller of paint in Europe.
Is that a fact?
Yep.
I'm assuming for miniatures paint, not
No,
just
paint,
that'll be.
full stop. They're the biggest seller of paint in Europe.
That's insane.
It's not really if you think about it, because they sell their paint all over the world.
Yeah, but compared to what Dulux,
Yeah,
they sell more paint than Dulux.
pretty sure.
That is mental. Wow. I suppose this is it. Like, they are. I mean, if you like, they're without a doubt the market leader for miniatures paint. I wouldn't like. There's no denying that at all. But geez, to outdo like just house paint. I suppose this is it though. Like, how many times do you paint your house, or like a room in your house? You might do it like once every 5 years, right?
You think how many companies there are that are selling that?
Yeah.
Whereas you think about how many companies sell acrylics for use on toy soldiers.
Yep. Significantly smaller. Next time I write a pub quiz, that's going to be one of the questions.
I mean, double check it because you don't want to get like egg on your face, but I am fairly certain
that's a great bit of trivia, that, yeah.
that they're the biggest seller of paint in Europe. So I'm almost done all the blue.
Nice. So how many guys are you batch painting in this set?
Well, 9. 'Cause
Nine
I
in
did
total.
the one guy. I did the one guy from the Unit of 10 as my tester. And I'm just doing the rest of the unit. And these guys, I actually came up with a rule set for playing Age of Sigmar on your own, and my plan is to use these guys as adversaries. And what's pretty cool as well is Games Workshop have actually published a few scenarios since the lockdown came into effect on their, on their website for you to play through on your own. So
nice.
You can get them on the Warhammer community website.
Have you given any of those rule sets a go yet?
I haven't yet. I had a bit of a look at them. They do look pretty fun. They're a bit more of an emphasis on playing with a small model count, and you just use a couple of heroes.
Yeah.
Whereas mine, my rule set is supposed to be like a raid.
Yeah, it's actual full-size forces, right?
Because one of the things that really irks me about rules for small games in Games Workshop is that they give you these awesome big centerpiece models and you can never use them outside of battles. And it irritates the life out of me because I just want to have my Magmadroth stomp about a dungeon torching ghosts.
Yeah, that's fair. Who doesn't want that in life?
Is that too much to ask? So I think we first tried out the contrast paints at UK Games Expo, didn't we?
God, that was so long ago now. That's coming up in a year now. It will be a year end of May, won't it?
Yep.
Yeah. I'm see for what I'm using them for. Like, this is a quick way of getting some miniatures done. I'm quite satisfied with them overall. I was saying on my Pathfinder game, we were talking about it a bit. There's definitely some are better than others, right?
I'd say so.
I'm not particularly happy with how the blues turned out. I've got an ultramarine blue, and it looks maybe I did a bad job of using it, but it looks a little blotchy. On the other hand, I am very happy with Gilman Flesh. And that just saves you so much time, because doing a flesh tone with the old-fashioned way was very time-consuming, I found.
Yeah, well, I mean, I've actually got a few of them here I can show you. These are my Fire Slayers.
Yeah, that's a look.
And they've been painted Cadian flesh tone, and that's over black.
Mm.
So that's at least 3 layers. So it's I think it's about 2 or 3 layers of Bugman's Glow, then 2 or 3 layers of Cadian flesh tone, and then a highlight of Kislev flesh. And it looks very, very good when you do it, but like you say, it is time consuming.
And this is it, when you are sitting down to paint some minis, ask yourself, how much effort do I want to put into it? Yeah, they look really nice, man. You ask yourself though, how much effort do I want to put into this? And if you, because what I'm doing right now is I just want something that's going to look nice on the tabletop. Doesn't need to be too detailed. Doesn't need to be too fancy. It's just got to look better than unpainted miniatures, right? And that's what these guys will look like.
There's absolutely nothing wrong with that. It's just I'm one of these poor fools that can't help myself, where I start off thinking I'm just going to do a simple colour scheme, and then 2 days later I have highlighted every single weapon in a stack of weapons. So it's different strokes for different folks, dare I say. I just punned, Josh.
I'm proud of you. So proud.
I punned myself.
You punned yourself, player.
Maybe back in a minute, because there's actually a miniature that I want to show when you were talking about doing flesh tones, because I used slightly different colours for this guy.
Yeah, I will keep the people entertained, i.e. Barry. Unless it is for Pathfinder, as we learnt, painted models die faster. That is very true. That is a superstition that I think is a fact, that if you are playing an RPG and you rock up with your new character with a fully painted model, that character's going to snuff it like really quickly. The ways to introduce it gradually: bring in an unpainted model first, and then paint him up. So I'm just starting on the leader now. The old guy here with the egg in the nest. So we'll get cracking with him in a moment. Is that your back, Ben?
That's me back. Whenever I get a miniature with a baldy head, I can't help but paint it to look like it's buzz cut, since I learned a little technique for that.
Can't do that though if he's got an egg in the nest. This is definitely not a buzz cut mini. I mean, he's a Viking as well. How's he going to get a buzz cut?
Just shave his head with that open razor.
I suppose with a razor.
Apparently they did like undercut their hair and things like that, the Vikings.
Yeah, I need to see some. I need to inspect some of the other miniatures a bit closer, because there's some interesting hairstyles in the Wolf Clan. A lot of their minis have rat tails as their haircut of choice, which is bold. But I tell you what, they're probably the clan that I think the second scariest looking clan.
Well, speaking of scary looking clans, this is a miniature that
Let's have a look.
I painted up for Warcry. And what I've done with this guy, he's from the faction called the Unmade.
Mm-hmm.
So as you can see, there's a lot of bare skin there. What I did was I didn't use the flesh tone. I used that contrast paint called Volupus Pink. I think that's how you pronounce that.
Mm-hmm.
And what I did was I mixed it in with a lot of medium. So it gives you this, when you apply it as a skin tone, it gives you this horrible sort of
Like palette tone, yeah.
albino kind of pasty look. And then what I did was I darkened it down again towards the extremities.
Mm-hmm.
Because obviously that's where the skin tends to be a bit more flush, the blood gathers there, and then I've put a little bit of purple as well to make them look really gross.
You've shown me these guys before, and they look really cool. I love how you've done them.
So he's my tester there, and I'm going to work on the whole faction there. So that he was quite a fun little experiment of. I think he was one of the first models I did where I used a mix of contrast and regular paints. And it's a pretty fun little exercise. So speaking of which, that's pretty much the extent of all the contrast that's going to go on to these Nighthaunt guys. So
Rightio. So you going to use conventional paints from now from here on for these guys?
That's it. So the first thing we start with is quite a lot of them have got wood on them. We want the wood to look quite dead and old. So what I do, as per what I've done with the test model, and you can see he's got that cudgel there. Excuse the autofocus. So I do dryad bark for the base, and then a highlight of I think it was Baneblade brown I used.
And how are you applying that highlight? Is that being dry brushed on, or are you just doing like detailed layers? How's that happening?
I just paint it on just a very fine line with a layer brush.
Yeah.
Because I mean you could dry brush it, but I'd be too frightened to take a dry brush on a brown paint anywhere near a white model.
No, that's fair enough, and something I did not consider. While you were away, by the way, Barry raised the issue of, do you buy into the superstition of painted models on the table on a tabletop game, i.e. the first time you take a painted model, it's going to do really badly?
I do not, but I know a lot of people do, and it's funny, like, a lot of the time it's people that aren't ordinarily superstitious at all, but for some reason, when it comes to gaming, I suppose it's a bit like sport as well, isn't it? People that are normally not superstitious at all with sport have all these weird little rituals, don't they?
I think it's a thing.
You do?
Well, logically I know it's not, but I still think it is, if that makes sense. It's funny, because with superstitions, I know they're not real, but I will still, I still won't step over 3 drain covers in a row. I still won't walk past someone on the stairs.
I remember one of my English teachers growing up, he was a really angry atheist, but he had this thing, and he admitted it himself, and he says it makes absolutely no sense, but he would never listen to Scotland games on the radio in case they lost.
Yeah, I know a lot of people who have that thing about their favourite sports team. They feel like if they do or do not tune into it, they do better or worse for it. I've heard it both ways. someone who listens to their football team playing believe it makes them do worse, or like for some reason. It's weird.
So he would sit there like openly bashing like Islam in front of a classroom full of Muslim kids, but then
Awkward.
at the same time he would never listen to Scotland on a match day in case they lost because of him. He was actually a good teacher, for all he was quite a strange man.
I think most teachers are a little bit strange. Do you not think?
Yeah, it's that way like as a kid because all you've known is school, you just kind of accept it, but it's not until you get out and you think, well, they were all crazy and they would not be accepted in normal society.
Yeah, right. A few of my friends from university are students now, and I'm sure they won't mind me saying they are eccentric.
Teachers, you mean?
Sorry, yes. A lot of my friends at university are teachers now.
Yeah.
I should have said. All right. You want to see Egg in the Nest?
Let's see it.
Dum 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 da da. There he is.
Good guy.
I know. He looks really angry as well, which I quite like. It makes sense that he would be angry. So that's all the flesh tone done on my minis. So I've achieved something tonight. That's I'm quite happy with my progress there.
And that was Gilman.
Gilman flesh.
I'm currently painting on. I should probably do it up where you guys can see. It's really awkward trying to paint with this headset on because the lead's so short.
Yeah.
But that's dry bark. And so when I'm painting with regular paints, I always water them down
Mhm.
because it gives you a lot more control. You don't get any clumping if they flow nice and even into the detail. And then what I'll do is I'll put 2 or 3 layers on to give me.
Yeah, I was just about to say the thing with watering it down is it will mean that you need to do more layers of it, but it will look better for it. Barry is currently doing the Owlbear's green Mohican hair, as my alchemist also has a green Mohican. Hey, nice. Like a bright green? Are we going quite punk rock there, Barry?
Is that quite a normal hairstyle for an alchemist? Or?
I think so. Alchemists are crazy guys, right? So you know, they're gonna have a Mohican. I don't know whether it's a normal hairstyle for an owlbear, but I'm not gonna argue with an owlbear. Here's the thing with owlbears. When I first heard of them, I pictured them being half owl, half bear, but the size of an owl, which would make them quite cute, actually. But no, they're the size of a grizzly bear.
With temperament to match, from what I can gather.
Which makes them very dangerous. Barry has confirmed it is a punk rock green. So, I'm looking, yeah, do post photos of it in the Discord, though, because I want to see it. I'm deliberating. I feel like it's too late to start on a second colour now for me. I don't know. I might just get a drink and just chill for a bit.
This bloody lead.
Oh man.
I think I'm probably gonna finish up this brown, and then that'll be me, because I think I'm going to have to rethink my setup. Because it is very difficult to try and do anything at the moment.
Yeah. I had to make a compromise because I don't have my full painting station here. I was trying to fit it all on my desk with my laptop and everything else and the mic and everything. But then I realised I don't need the full painting station here. I just need something so that my table doesn't get paint on it. The one paint that I'm going to use and a pot of water and a bit of kitchen roll to dry my paint. So my paintbrush. So, you know. But yeah, it's tricky trying to get a setup of filming you paint as well. Just because, like, filming your what I'm doing here, just like my headshot is fine, but it's a very different thing filming miniatures or photographing miniatures for that matter, because they're so much smaller.
Yeah, and I've also had to like completely rejig my lighting for this as well. I've actually got although it's out of shot, I've got a studio light on me at the moment, because where normally just the desk lamp is fine for me painting. Obviously when it's up on camera, it's a different kettle of fish.
Aye.
But, so there you go, that's painted in the brown on there for the wood. And that's, you can see he's in the.
So that's your base layer, and then, like you say, you're gonna do like a highlight layer over it.
Yeah, just to because it's going to look a bit flat otherwise. So what that'll get a brown wash, just to give it a bit more depth and shadow. And then I'll do a highlight of Baneblade brown over that, and I'll just follow some of the knotwork.
Yeah.
And then
it's looking good.
All the metal bits get done with lead belcher.
Yeah, good old reliable lead belcher. I'm actually a bit concerned I'm going to run out of lead belcher while this lockdown is on.
Yeah, I think so. I don't think I've got another tub, but I think there's probably one on the way, because you do get paints with mortal wounds.
Ah, right, okay.
Well,
yeah, they're bound to send you lead belcher as part of that.
Yeah.
Lead belcher, for the uninitiated, is like the silver metal that you use. They do other ones, but lead belcher is kind of like the go-to. Barry is asking a question, Ben, which I'm going to let you field, because you know much more about this stuff than I do. What paintbrush / wet palette do you recommend? He is using the Frontier Wargaming case, so everything's just there ready to go, including an LED light.
There are so many products on the market that I couldn't possibly tell you what's good and bad amongst all of that. Like, for instance, the Frontier Wargaming case isn't one that I'm familiar with. As far as lighting go, just make sure that you have a daylight LED lamp, which, if you check the side of the box or the spec on it, that should be 6000K, which is that's kelvins, which is the measurement of light, color, temperature. So it means that, like, the kind of light that we call warm white, a traditional light bulb will give off about 3000K, and that's quite a sort of yellowy color. Whereas you want the 6000, which is what I've got at the moment, and that's basically going to give you, it is the closest thing to natural daylight, and it means that colours appear as they should under the light, whereas anything below 6000K can actually alter the colour. So if you're really like wanting to get serious about your paint, you do need to give a bit of consideration to the lighting that you're using. As far as wet palettes go, the one that I use is the Everlasting Wet Palette from Redgrass, and I really cannot fault that. Like I was saying earlier, prior to using this palette, I was using a Chinese takeaway box with a bit of sponge and baking parchment in it, and that did the job. I know Army Painter do a wet palette that a lot of people have been raving about as well, but if you're just wanting to see whether or not using a wet palette is for you, then you can just make one at home easy enough. As far as brushes, my favourite brushes by far that I've used are the Winsor & Newton Series 7 range, but they are quite expensive.
Yeah, I went the cheapskate route with my brushes. I literally just went, there's Cass Art is a art supply store that's in Glasgow. I believe they're a chain, so they're all over the UK. And I just went into them and I paint miniatures, and I'm looking for a new brush for it. So I have a Master Stroke Craft and Decorative, and it's got a series of numbers here. But it's a Series 60 miniature brush, and that does the job for me. I do like 90% of my painting with this one brush. I've got a slightly thicker one, which was like my starter brush from GW that's still going, and I kind of use that more for like washes. And then I've got a really old brush that I use for dry brushing.
Well, that's one thing I was actually just about to say. Never throw out your old brushes, because you can always use them as dry brushes.
Yeah, don't unless you're just starting, of course. Don't waste money on buying a specialist dry brush. Like just use an old brush. Like it'll do the job.
The other thing, if you are investing in fancy brushes, you probably want to get yourself some of this, which is brush soap.
Oh yeah.
And I'll still open it up. All you do is you swirl your brush around it, you work it into a lather, and then you just rinse it off after, and that breaks down all the paint that's on that.
It is important to wash your brushes, but particularly important if you've been using it for painting with metallic paint, because you want to make sure, because the thing with metallic paint is they actually have pigments of metal in to make them look metallic. So you don't want that cross-contaminating into any of your regular paints either, because you don't want flecks of silver in like your orange or your white or whatever.
Yeah. Cleaning's probably, I think, more important than having fancy brushes, because you could buy a cheapo set of brushes, and if you're cleaning them regularly and maintaining them, it's fine. Whereas you get people that will throw money at fancy brushes and they don't look after them, and they are worthless. That brush there that I was using for the washes, that's part of just a little generic set that came from an art store that my mother-in-law got me for Christmas. It was just like a miscellaneous set. It's an Art Master Micro Detail series, but it was just bundled in with a load of other brushes, and that actually works really well for using my contrast paints, and then also for blocking in colour on larger areas.
Yeah.
So as much as I would say, if someone said to me, I will buy you a set of brushes, what do you want? I would say, get me a set of Winsor & Newton Series 7. At the same time, I've got all kinds of brushes. I've got a bunch of the Citadel brushes. I've got some Army Painter brushes. I've got some Rosemarine Cove Sable brushes. I've tried loads, but I would say Winsor & Newton are the best.
As with all of these things, you can invest as much or as little as you feel like, and you'll still like the bottom line is painted minis always look better than unpainted minis. So if you're more like me, who just wants to get like tabletop ready miniatures, you probably don't need to. You certainly don't need to go out and buy expensive paintbrushes. You can just get a few of the contrast paints, get your primer, a couple of cheap brushes, and you'll be good to go. But if you want them to look nicer and you want to put more effort in, then yeah, by all means, invest. Get the nicer equipment, and if you're using it and looking after it correctly, you will get the results.
So before we finish up, I'll actually give you guys a little tour of my setup. so that you can
Let's
see
have a
here.
look.
I've got my. I probably need to get another one of these, to be honest, because I can't fit all my paints on the one rack. But I've got them. They're in some semblance of order. Like I've got contrast washes. I've got layer paints that I use red. I use loads and loads of red and orange in my painting, so they're pride in place. And then I've got my technical paints at the bottom. And then I've got, because I'm using doing the night on just now, I've got a lot of paints that I'm using with them set out in easy reach here. I've put some of my paints into dropper bottles, but I haven't bothered transferring them all because I can't be arsed.
Right. Okay.
It's a lot of work.
It's not because you tried the dropper bottles and you were like, I'm not keen on this. It is more just the hassle of.
I'd say so. I mean, at the same time, like the dropper bottles, they are good in that you can just squeeze them, but they do sometimes block, and you have to unblock them. The dropper bottles. I have heard. I've put metal balls in there for this because what it does is it helps mix up the. Hold on, you can hear it.
Yeah, you can rattle them.
You can hear that rattling around. It helps with mixing them. Some people I've heard saying, and I can see quite a bit of wisdom in it, is to put glass balls in them as opposed to the metal balls.
So that it doesn't interfere with the paint.
So that it doesn't rust.
Aye. There we go.
So if you want to do that, then you maybe want to consider doing the glass balls instead. Got the wet palette there, spare sheets, brush soap, mountain of brushes.
All the brushes.
Yeah, and I've got, and you probably saw me using this during the stream, I can't recommend these enough, see these painting handles, especially if you want to do a lot of detail, because it helps you to easily paint some of the more awkward areas in the miniature, and they're nice and ergonomic as well.
I wasn't using it this evening because I didn't need to, but I do normally use one, and exactly what you were saying there, Ben. It means that you can reach some of the more awkward areas of a mini, and you're not giving yourself cramp to do that.
And then, so I think that's pretty much it. That's round here. You can see I've put some of my stuff so they're more easily accessible. Some of my fire slayers in there. It's a Stormcast I was working on still to just do her base. She's pretty much done. But yeah, that's my painting rig.
Nice.
So I think I'm probably going to try and get a wireless headset for next time, because that's been a good little exercise trying this out.
Yeah.
I definitely need something like that, and we'll try and work a little bit more on the image and the sound for you guys as well. So what's
Barry says he uses the model holder but need the larger one for the 50mm plus size. Yeah, I don't have one of those, but I very rarely paint massive minis, to be fair.
That's what that one is.
Yeah, it's humongous.
So I guess if you were doing a lot of like trolls or ogres, you probably want that one. I use it for painting like war machines and magma droths and things.
Yeah. Right, are we going to call it an evening then?
Yeah, I think we'll call it an evening.
Yeah, well, thank you very much for tuning in and for watching. Having a chilled evening with us, just doing a bit of painting and dealing with technical problems, but we got there eventually.
Yeah, hopefully we enjoyed that, and maybe we were able to impart some tips for you in your own painting. But get in touch with us, show us what you've been painting, show us what you've been up to, because Oh, community.
Barry, I didn't sell all your trolls and ogres, right? You wanted to sell them, and I helped facilitate that.
That's not what Barry's saying, though, is it?
I know that's not what Barry's saying. What he's saying is untrue.
Yeah. All right, guys. Thanks
Yeah.
again for joining us. and
Thanks very much.
Catch you next time.
Yeah, you have a good night. Bye.